Starting and scaling a business can be expensive, but you do not have to go into massive debt just to get your business baby off the ground. If there's one thing I love, it's Ballin on a budget. And my guest today just happens to be the best when it comes to helping business owners start right where they are and build a successful business completely debt-free. Karey Northington is a stay-at-home mom turned serial entrepreneur. Once suffering from anxiety, depression, and low self-esteem, she persevered to create a multiple six-figure fitness business and a seven-figure grossing restaurant concept called PROTEINHOUSE. Karey holds a bachelor's degree in both nursing and psychology. Yes, she's super smart, and she's passionate about helping others transform their lives mentally, physically, and financially. Of all the hats she wears, though, being a mom is her favorite. I loved this episode, and I know you're going to love it too, so let's dive in. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I get to spend a little quality time with one of my favorite people on the planet and someone who just inspires me daily. That's Miss Karey Northington. So thanks for being here, Karey.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me. And honestly, same to you.
I know it. It's like we live on opposite sides of Phoenix. So even though we both are in the same town, it feels like we have a long distance relationship.
I swear it does. Isn't that funny? We're an hour apart and it feels like the entire side of the country.
Yeah. So we're basically just going to record our catching up and the normal conversations that Karey and I tend to have for your listening pleasure today. So you're welcome, America.
Well, we'll edit some of it, right?
Exactly. We'll keep it a little PG. So for those of who do not know you, I love your story for a few different reasons. Number one, just your transition into entrepreneurship to begin with. And then the fact that you are a mom and you do such a great job of balancing that life, if there is such a thing called balance, right? I think that's like an air quotes term, but you from an outsider's perspective can look like you have it all. You have this beautiful family, you have this son that is incredible, and multiple businesses. So take us back to the start of all of this. And I'd love if you would just share like the real story behind the scenes of how you even transitioned into being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I would love to share that. And, I'm so thrilled to hear that it looks like I have it all together. No, I'm just kidding.
It's hilarious when people say that. You're like, oh.
I was like, brush your shoulders off a little bit. But honestly, I love to share this story because so much of why I transitioned from a nursing career to entrepreneurship was the flexibility that I was looking for and desiring because of my son. Yeah. I co-parent. And when I went through my divorce, I noticed that, okay, I have half of the time here, we share custody. So as soon as that occurred, when I would get my work schedule in nursing, there were days that I was to have him, that I would have to be at work. And I felt like that was a non-negotiable for me. So my next best bet was finding something with his schedule. And that's when I went into school nursing, which I loved. It was so much fun. But I was still in a box and I felt like I was staring at the glass, my face pressed against it. And I really wanted a little bit more freedom in general. And I'd always been passionate about helping people with their fitness journey. So while I worked at the school, on the days I didn't have him, I really focused on building up a business. And I want to hit on the fact that a lot of people who kind of have a side hustle and they want to turn it into a full-time thing, there's an overlap there where you're going to basically want to die because you're working so much because you're not ready to let go of one thing and then you have to build the other one up to the point that you can let go of the other thing. So I would say that was the only time in my life where it was extremely clear that balance was lacking. But doing that just to be able to spend more time with him was my number one reason, to be honest with you. And then finally I just bit the bullet and I made sure that I was like closer and closer to the other side that I wanted to jump to before I did the jump. And I think that helped a lot in the confidence level of being able to launch what was going on.
I actually just recorded a podcast episode. I think it will air after yours all about how do you know? Like, how do you know when to pull the plug, to make that full leap? What was it for you? How did you know that it was time to take that leap?
I think that's the best question because everybody has a different comfort level with risk.
Yeah.
And I'm a big proponent of making sure that you're keeping your stress down as much as possible for business, because I think that whenever stress is high, financial strain is high, you start doing things out of desperation and not with clarity. So I had in my mind a plan where I'm like, okay, I'm going to be comfortable living off of this. I have this much saved. So I have X number of months to do blank. And as I put those pieces together, it really was helpful for me to know, okay, like this is it. This is what I committed that I was going to do. I'm going to pull the plug based on the plan that I had, even though I kind of didn't really want to. So it's sort of like close your eyes and pull the plug and go for it.
I love how you mentioned too, just the risk tolerance, because for some people, what they need is just to fully cut the cord, and that's what's going to drive them into action. For me, I need to know that I'm not building a business out of stress, and having more of a backup plan and a really clear exit strategy was important for me. And I think I actually landed somewhere in the middle, but I know so many people who they are really proud of the fact that they just quit their job and they're going to figure it out. But that's not me, to be honest.
Well, and you know what, to be honest with you, I almost think that my risk tolerance went down and down and down being a mom.
Yeah.
Because it's not just me. If it's just me, there's a pretty good chance that I would be like I quit, I'll give you 2 weeks notice, I'm out, I'm going to go sleep on my friend's couch until I get everything figured out. No big deal. But there's so much more involved, in my opinion, when you're thinking of a little person.
Yeah,
Because you don't
absolutely.
really want to move them around all over. And just a little backstory, like my son has moved, he moved 5 times before his first birthday. So I really wanted to try and provide some type of stability versus just, hey, we out.
Yeah. Especially as they get older and into school, I can totally see that. So one of the things that I think this sets up the conversation that we wanted to have today so perfectly, just about the, calculating that what it's going to take for you to really make your business succeed. And we have had many a passionate conversation over how it drives us crazy sometimes to see people thinking they need to make these huge financial investments in areas of their business that maybe that would help them move forward, but it's actually putting them into debt, or it's adding extra stress that they don't really need, especially when a business is brand new. So I thought there was no one better to come on the podcast and just really talk about how it is absolutely possible to scale a really, really successful business debt-free or with minimal debt, and actually the power in doing so.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I feel like this is one of my most passionate favorite topics because when we were talking about risk management and stress management, there's nothing for me that causes more stress than debt. And so I really like to, I love that book, Profit First. I was introduced to that a while back, and it kind of lets you know like how you should be investing money that you're receiving through your business. But the biggest thing is there's a pool of people that we all have that know, like, and trust us. And those people are the beginning, that bottom layer of your business. And those are the people that oftentimes when I have business coaching clients myself, they don't even know about this person's business. And if you focus on that, that's absolutely free. That's a network that you've already built over time since you've been on this planet, of people that are very interested in what you're doing. They know your skill set. They know what you can do. And oftentimes it's overlooked and everyone's thinking, okay, I got to go right to the top. Or you see those success stories of the pitches now is just, it's way easier to make 6 figures a year than you would think. I don't know if I would use the word easy. I like to think of like simple. If you keep being repetitive and consistent, then you definitely can get there. But I often wonder if some of it's like contingent. If you invest this, you'll make this. And that's not necessarily an equation that you can go on.
Yeah. So I love what you've coined as this debt-free business model. I know you teach it to your business coaching clients. I've heard you speak on it multiple times, and I feel like I always learn something new from you when you talk about it. And that was the piece that I think was so important for people to hear, because often those bigger investments come in the form of marketing and doing paid traffic and things of that nature, when like you mentioned, a lot of people tend to skip over those that they've already built trust with. So talk a little bit about, as you think about this funnel of bringing in business and getting that initial cash to really start to invest in a strategic way, why is it so important to start right where you are with the community that you already have? Will you go a little bit deeper on that?
Sure. Yeah. And I love that, start right where you are, because truly, I think that people vastly underestimate the network that they have. They think, I don't have over 10,000 followers on Instagram. I
Mm.
don't have this. I only have 6 likes on my business page. And I'm always like, well, on your personal page, you have that entire group. And even if it's 50 people, right? Those 50 people have families. Those 50 people have 50 people or hundreds of people. And even if you're targeting just in that area or going into Facebook groups and making connections that way that aren't salesy, you're just reaching out to people that may be in your target clientele. I have that joke on the PowerPoint about like that one person you have to look for.
Susan in the red dress.
Yeah.
I think I've even...
Y'all remember, are you looking for her still?
I think I've referenced her on the podcast. I can't remember if it was here or in another training, but I think of Susan often. So explain this. It was like this stick figure and really almost pointing, like making light of this obsession we have that we have to find our avatar and it has to be this specific person.
Yeah, I think that sometimes with building a business, what I've noticed more and more, because I have been a person that's fallen into this trap of greatly overthinking something that really I can just start going and see who falls into that category, because it can get so specific. Like they'll want exactly the age, exactly the job that they're doing, exactly the amount of money they make. And I always joke that everybody puts on there that they make a lot of money so that they can hire you. So sometimes with just focusing on that so much, we're missing a ton of people that it's going to be difficult to target that in a search. It's going to be hard to get to the bottom of that on Facebook and going through different clients, or even on Instagram, looking at their bios. So to me, I think that going through your friends, another strategy is if you know that somebody is working with a lot of people that you would also be interested in working with, because let's be serious, I can purchase something from you, from another friend, from another friend, from another friend. It's not exclusive. Go through their followers list and see if you resonate with anyone. Start following them. Another mistake that I think with, building your warm market organically is they're waiting for people to come to them. They're like, I put out this amazing post. It's so good.
Once
all of these people are going to come to my page and then I'm going to have followers before you know it. But the missing link, in my opinion, is the interacting back and forth and looking for the new people to form that bond with.
Yes. Okay. I'm obsessed with all of this. It's so funny, the timing of when we're recording this, because just yesterday I was in the studio recording 2 podcasts. So preview of coming attractions, friends. I did one on the best investments I've made in myself and my business, which I definitely want us to touch on that. But the other one is why you don't have to fall into this trap of thinking, if you don't have a big following on social media, that's the ultimate make or break. Because truly, what I love about what we've built with Powerhouse Women is I had 0 audience. It has all been through genuine connections and taking the time. And that's the piece that you're speaking to, is if you actually care about real human beings and take the time to build those connections, people are more than willing to refer you, to connect you with others, to share you with their audience. And that's a beautiful way to grow an organic following. And it costs you nothing but your time.
Exactly. And then also kind of looking and see, like, there's no replacement for face-to-face, right?
Yeah.
And so a big thing that I focus on too with my clients is, hey, traditional marketing's not dead. And getting in front of somebody and having a true conversation that isn't like, hey, how are you? I'm selling this. Do you want it? Like, if you have patience, I think is basically what we're touching on, some patience to develop some of these relationships. And that's a big part of why I'm saying don't quit your job and be so under pressure to sell that you don't have time to do some of these things. Because whenever we can feel it, right? On the other end, the person that you're talking to can feel if it's like a take type of relationship, or if it's a give take, or if it's just truly being grown out of like, hey, I'm really interested in what you're up to. Tell me more.
Yeah.
So if you start going around, the book that I love, I think I tell everyone about it, is Getting Everything You Can Out of All You've Got by Jay Abraham. He basically shows you that there are leads everywhere. really helps you switch your thinking from a scarcity to an abundant mindset. And then like you're saying, with the warm market, and that's what I'm really big on in the debt-free model, when you start infiltrating that, you can grow and grow and grow just from their referrals. If you're doing a good job and you have a great product, that's going to happen where somebody's going to say, hey, I'm working with so-and-so. I think you should check it out. I think for Powerhouse, the event, so much of that I know was me. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, like Lindsay's amazing. I want all my friends to come.
Yeah.
And it wasn't you saying, hey, Karey, like I'll give you X number of dollars back on this ticket. It's just the friendships you build, things grow over time. Mm-hmm. You can do things different ways. You can definitely do the affiliate marketing, but there's something to be said for it costs nothing. You don't have to give anything away except for spending time with people and getting to know them.
And I find that when you know how to ask for that support in terms of referrals, or if there's a specific type of support you want from your network to help get your name out, if you can be specific with the ask and let them know how much it really contributes to you. I saw this with the podcast, with starting the podcast, letting people know, hey, it makes a huge difference for us to be seen by more people if you physically write a review. And it's interesting, until I had a podcast, I didn't know really the importance of that or how it factored in with visibility for a new show. And I hear a lot of podcasts just saying, oh, hey, if you liked this, leave a review. But it never made me feel, I didn't understand how I was contributing to them until now.
Oh, totally.
People love to show up for you, especially those that you've already built that trust with. If you say, hey, I know this takes 5 seconds, but it actually makes a huge difference. Would you be willing to write a Yelp review or write a Google review if you've had a great experience with my business? Not being ashamed to ask that.
I absolutely agree. And saying like, why? Because for me, I think with the podcast realm, like I'm a complete newbie too, to even listening, being on it. And people would ask and I'd be like, oh, they probably just want some feedback. So I'll just tell them that I like the episode and why. I never understood how the logistics work with that. So I think that that's another really, really great way. Like, this is why it's important. Or even just reminding somebody else of like what your main vision is.
Yeah.
I put that on my coaching page that I'm like, I really like to work with people who are focused so much more on the vision and the goal and the impact instead of just the finances. Because if you are focused on that, it's just really going to flow. Like, you're going to be able to clearly define what you want. You're looking at something else besides your bank account, and that makes a really big difference in who you're talking to and how passionate you are about what you're doing, versus, maybe you sign up for something because you just are really looking for a few extra bucks, but you're not really that down with it. The verbiage will be totally different.
Totally true. Okay, so I love how we're kind of setting the stage for this debt-free model and how possible it is by talking about, how do you initially get that traffic into your business, attract those customers, gain referrals, and a lot of it is just the patient side and being willing to put in the work. So then the other piece that I love to talk about, and I know you have some great ideas and strategies for, is how to keep the costs of running your business as you scale fairly low, and where to invest if you are going to. So I'd love if we, and I'm happy to share some too, but I want to hear from you. What are some of your favorite tools or resources, things that have given you a ton of leverage in your business for not a lot of dollar bills, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, completely. I think that the number one thing that people get obsessed with is kind of like having this like super fancy website. Like they have all the bells and whistles for this website. And I've even gotten some quotes recently about another project, and it can really put a dent in your pocket if you are a new business owner and you don't have that kind of collateral. So I love the fact that now there's Squarespace, and if you're not tech savvy, you can literally watch a few tutorials and get a very beautiful website. The Stronger Camps one is on Squarespace. You can get I made that. You can get a very beautiful, and I'm not tech savvy. Wait, I want to clarify that. I want to clarify that I have no special powers in comparison to any of the average people out there with tech. And you can get something looking really great because in the very beginning, you're not getting a ton of traffic.
Yeah.
So you can have a few different ways. If you don't have a website at all, that's okay too. You can have use Canva or something and that's a program on the computer where you can create your offerings in like a PDF version. And as people contact you, you could send them that. similar to like a pitch packet or something about what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then you can send invoices if you don't have a way to do digital e-commerce. You can also send invoices if you don't want to spend the money on digital e-commerce on your website. So there's so many ways to go around it. I mean, I started the entire business with no website. I just had a digital form that people would fill out to contact me. My other favorite tool now is Acuity or Calendly, where it just links up, and this will be perfect for the moms that are listening because I put my son's baseball schedule on there. I put the times that I'm picking him up. I block off time that he's home or he's around so that I don't get consult calls booked in the time that's my family time.
Yes.
And then I have other days opened up. And lately I've been telling people that if you start getting busier than you can handle for consults, you easily could bring on an unpaid intern, or you could bring on somebody who is commission only. So if they know you and they've been around you and they've experienced the product and they know the benefits, you could trust them to do some of your consults. And then as things are purchased, they would be able to obtain commission and or whatnot. And then that's completely no cost. You're not hiring somebody for $15 an hour, getting to the end of the month and realizing that you owe them, then you owe a website bill, then you owe a website maintenance. It can add up rather quickly.
You know, the other thing I did in the beginning, not so much with the web stuff, I did build my first website on Squarespace. And actually, if you just go to lindsayschwartz.com, it's still up. It's like long overdue for an update. But I bought a template through, I remember just searching online, Squarespace templates, bought one for like a few $100. It was like under $300. But what was cool is it came with videos that walked me through how to set up this website. And so I learned my website setup as I built it, and it was super, super simple. And then I just now manage it and am able to, you know, update photos, but the core of the website has stayed the same for like 5 years, and it was so easy.
Yeah. And now Squarespace has, I've made a few for typically in the beginning when I have some business coaching clients, I help them go through it and build theirs. And so I've made a few, and now there's a lot of template choices on Squarespace that are absolutely at no cost. And I believe that the business one, the highest end where you have e-commerce, is $26 a month or something like that. Yeah. So it's super reasonable. And like you said, it's pretty nice to be able to not only save money switching things out, but to be able to switch things out whenever you want.
Yeah, I love that.
Instead of waiting on someone. And then down the road, of course, like you do want to focus on things like SEO. And I do know that a lot of the complaints are, hey, you know, Squarespace may not be doing as much with that, but as time goes, they're going to do more and more with it.
Right.
You don't have to worry about plugins. You don't have to worry about things like that. On WordPress, I have a WordPress site for the gym, and I definitely do have to have monthly maintenance on that to make sure that the plugins are updating properly and they're not conflicting with other things. And I really don't know anything about that, or coding and such. So I can't switch pictures. I have to ask somebody, and that's a really big thing.
Yeah.
You want to take the money that you'll spend. If you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to spend, you know, upwards of over $5,000 on a website, or I'm going to spend this, you want to think about how much of that, what can that really do with increasing your reach if you're using paid ads instead for some of that money.
Right.
You know, like boosted posts, paid ads. I know that it's frustrating now that it seems Facebook and Instagram, they don't show everybody your posts. In groups, a lot of times people aren't seeing things. So I love that. I think you also use that strategy of like, comment if you see this, or click like if you see this, just because that is what's happening. If you're not active, they're not showing you. Mm-hmm. So if you use that money, you don't have to spend a lot, but if you use some of it and reroute it to make sure that people are seeing what you're doing, and you're individually messaging people, you're going out of your way to talk to them. You know, even likes are leads. I think that we heard that before. Yeah. Lindsay and I both participated in a mastermind. There's a lot of valuable tips, but likes are leads. Like, reach out to those people and talk to them. Yeah. Thank them for paying attention to your content. Like, it goes a long way.
It so does. And I feel like this all really boils down to being resourceful. And I think the business owners that I see are able to keep their business lean and scale and truly grow at the rate that they want to grow, and just expand that impact, are willing to get resourceful and think differently, think outside the box. I'd love to hear just from you too, some of the ways you've gotten resourceful. I think about the first event. So I've watched friends plan events just recently and have these huge budgets where I mean, that just was never how I looked at planning ours, because I didn't want to put myself in a position where I was stressing over selling tickets. So I will never forget. This is like the example that pops into my mind, which I think you'll appreciate. I remember my event planner coming back to me and she was like, to rent a stage, which was like, oh my goodness, it was like 8 feet by 12 feet, like this small stage. She's like, oh yeah, it's at least $1,000. And I was like, watch me. And so I go online, I just start furious, right? A Google search bar is your best friend. And I think it took me to like,
I remember
this post on Craigslist of all places, right? Not usually where like the most upstanding people hang out if you're like looking for love. But I found this guy who said he would do a stage for $250. And I remember going back to her and saying like, don't worry, Daryl's going to do the stage for $250. She almost died. Like she was like, is this person going to show up? But the reason that I trusted him was because he was from Wisconsin and I am also from Wisconsin. I was like, no, he's legit. He's from Wisconsin. These are like the best
we know each other.
And you better believe Daryl showed up and did such an amazing job, was a pleasure to work with. And yes, like, could that have been a terrible situation and I wouldn't have the same story? Of course, but I had to, like, it took a little extra work, but I was able to find someone. I've always been able to find someone who will either, barter in some way, trade services. I'm always looking for, well, what can I do to add value to them if I'm not able to work within their budget? Or maybe I just need to start smaller. Like when I first had photography done, I remember working with people who were new photographers. So it maybe wasn't the level of photography I have now, but it was something. It got me started. So like, what are some of the things that you've done to get really resourceful?
So I love that. And it's so true. And I feel like I can relate on so many levels with the event that we just did, because if you're already having an event somewhere that's at a hotel, you're already spending the budget. You're spending the budget. It's not going to be inexpensive. And in general, it's just forming those good connections, trying to see, hey, like I'm balling on a budget right now, what would be possible with this, and shopping around. I can't say enough how much of a mistake that people make on a regular basis, myself included, with getting one quote and being like, okay, that's it. Because I have had quotes range so greatly for so many different things. And at first, before we had the physical location at the gym that we do now, it's on Gilbert and Ray. Now it's a larger spot. We just rented space with a few other places, a few other people, and we didn't pay for a big lit up sign. We used like a window decal. So we saved, the window thing was $50. A big light up sign would have been $8,000. So there's little things where it's like right now you just need to focus on the relationships, giving a really good experience, having a great product. I don't think that I've ever really left an event and my takeaway has been, gosh, that stage. Did you see that thing?
That was a doozy.
That was something. So when you think about what people really notice, and I feel like this even applies to like weddings,
Absolutely.
Think about what people really notice. It's like the experience they had. Did they have fun? Like the music, like you always have somebody doing music at your events. And I think that that's always really an amazing thing. And then your photos, you really can hire, like I cannot stress enough, the whole intern concept. There are college kids who would love to be putting things on their resume about videography. They want to get into making movies. They want to be into photography. And you can find ways to have something beautiful done for you at literally zero big goose egg dollars.
Yeah.
It is being resourceful. It truly is.
Yeah. And then I know a website or service you have mentioned before in your presentation is even looking for those things maybe you do have to outsource. Maybe you really have no idea how to create a PDF or a PowerPoint presentation, and that's going to take too much of your precious brain space to figure out. You can hire people for not much on sites like Fiverr or
Upwork.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's another great point. I had a digital, like a PDF, a downloadable ebook done with a friend of mine, and we had it created here in the United States, and the cost was something like $3,500. And I have my more recent digital downloads. They were from somebody that I met on Upwork, and they were $30.
Wow.
30. So, and they
No more
don't
zeros.
look like, no more zeros after that. They don't look like any, I mean, there's some components of the other product that I like. This was more of a training one, so they're not really like comparing apples to apples, but at the same time, they're beautiful and it works, and then you don't have to deal with it. And in that case, you're just kind of writing the content down on Microsoft Word, getting everything out there and then sending over a file with photos. If you send them on Upwork and Fiverr, if you send an example of what you like, the more clear you can be about like, hey, this is what I'm going for, the better the result, but you can save so much on that. The debt-free framework, that actual like graphic that I made, I had someone make that for me on Fiverr. It was $50.
That's incredible. And I know that you had listed, or I think you had the text to get the PDF. Do you still have that one live where people can text to get that list of business resources? Oh,
I do. Yeah. You can text online biz to 345-345.
Okay, cool. So make sure to do that because I know we're going to wrap this up, but Karey is like a wealth of knowledge. She is the person I go to when I have a business question or when I want to figure something out because I love your approach to business. I love how you just focus on what is important at the moment and you are resourceful. You're one of the most resourceful people that I know and I've learned so much just from watching how you run your multiple businesses. We didn't even really touch on that. Mind you, one business can be a lot, but now running multiples. So I'm just so grateful for you and taking the time to share some of this wisdom with our podcast listeners.
Oh gosh, thanks, Linz. And I feel the same about you. I mean, who finds Daryl but you, girl?
You're doing
it. You're doing the thing. He needs a powerhouse shirt. He has to be like a regular staff.
Yeah, I think so. We'll have to like indoctrinate him into the girl gang somehow, but it's true, and I think that part of it was I was raised by a mom who is so great at figuring out how to get it done on a budget. And I will always appreciate that I grew up with that example. I don't care how many millions of dollars I'm making. I am still going to get so excited about finding what someone told me was $1,000 stage for $250. Like that is a win for me.
It's amazing. It's such a win.
Such a win.
Just because you have it doesn't mean you have to spend it either.
Yes, it's so, so true. So where can people connect with you? Where can they find you? I know you're open to taking on new business coaching clients right now. So tell us where we can Insta-stalk you.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I would love for you guys to Insta-stalk me. It's at Karey Northington, one word. And then you can find the gym website, northingtonfitnessandnutrition.com. And then if you're in the Gilbert area, I'd love for you guys to stop by Protein House, which is my other baby. So at protein-house.com, and you can order ahead if you'd like.
And all of the above are game changers. That's like the one reason that I have seriously considered uprooting my life in North Phoenix to closer to Karey, because everything she creates is just incredible. And the more I can spend time around your energy, I want to do that.
Oh my gosh, same, likewise. And I mean, I just have to end with the fact that I actually walked through one of my neighbor's house with a video camera, basically to show you the house because I'm dying for us to live closer together. But dreams come true and I'm manifesting this.
She actually did. She took like a real estate tour just to see if I wanted to move. That's like real friends. That's real girl gang right there.
And then I showed them the hole that we would cut out in the backyard,
right,
so that our backyards would adjoin.
So that we can just basically live in a compound. Okay, so I want to end with, I love to end these episodes just with a reminder for women, not only that they can absolutely do this, but that they're not doing it alone. And every once in a while, when I have amazing guests like you, I love to just open it up for what would you want to say to the women who are in this community, who are chasing their next big idea or dream, and what would you want them to know?
Don't get too far ahead of yourself. Just take it one day at a time and focus on the task in front of you. And don't worry so much about how you're going to get there. Just worry about the message you want to spread and what you want to do, and the how will get figured out.
I love that. And I love you so much. Thank you for being here.
I love you back.